Hey, welcome back. So, a couple of thoughts people wanted to share, and I did read them, and I wanted to confirm a few. And the first one was somebody felt that the placement of the reserve here, this one, was method A. And you know what? I didn't think it was method A because it was right next to the German unit, and it's in the German zone of control. But then I reread the rule, and it's only the Allied zone of control. So I guess you're right. That was method A, even though I reached the conclusion using method B. I didn't think about that. And then the other thing somebody mentioned was that with all these dispersed units out there, dispersed units don't exercise a zone of control. So therefore, all those Allied units are not in threat of being surrounded. That's an interesting point. And I mean, there's a part of me that feels that being dispersed is just a temporary thing. So from my perspective, they are in threat of being surrounded, but not for 2 turns. So, I mean, they have to first have an activation where they get undispersed and then another activation where they can actually do something. So I can see that. I guess that works. Now, somebody else brought up that the bracketed units don't exercise zone of control, but having a stack of them that equals to 2 or more pips does. And so that part is also true. So as much as I got the bracketed thing wrong the first time, technically speaking, I didn't get it wrong because there was a stack of bracketed items or bracketed guys, but I still have to be mindful of the fact that a bracketed unit does not exercise zone of control. Now the last one, I wanted to look up before I hit record, and then of course I forgot to look it up, and now I'm remembering it while I'm talking with you. So I am going to take the time to look this up, and it's about resolving combat. So let me just find the section here. It's in section 13 or the player aid. So I've been making a big deal about the order that you resolve combat. And asking the question, well, what happens if I do it in this order versus that order? And a couple of comments were made. The first one was that, so if you remember, this unit here retreated to here, and then we attacked this. They said that my assumption was not correct. If this unit retreated and then we're attacking this spot, which also had this unit right here, all 3 of them would be considered to be dispersed, because that's what dispersed does, is it affects everybody in the stack. But then the next thing that happens is also a reminder that I keep forgetting that they're in the town, so that absorbs a hit. But still, with them being dispersed, I think even if they absorbed this hit, they still would have retreated twice. There was like 4 hits on the guy. It's just that maybe one of these wouldn't have been flipped over. But nonetheless, that entire stack would be attacked, and if there was a retreat, the entire stack would have to retreat. The problem is it contains a dispersed unit that already retreated twice, and it can't retreat anymore. So therefore, it would be shattered. And so it was the opinion of some folks who commented that I actually shattered the north here. That this unit and the one below it and this one are all eliminated. So what I wanted to do was figure out how would I figure that out in the rules. And that's where my confusion. Well, I just sort of like want to see it for myself, right? I don't want to just take somebody's word for it, and I want to see, where does this occur in the rules? So defending in a combat either is 1 hex, retreat of all units, or a step loss to 1. Each hit 1 at a time. If the allied units are defending in a town, whatever, they reduce it by 1. If the defender has already retreated 2 hexes, apply a step loss for each remaining hit not yet applied. That's the normal ABCD. And then do, the die, which that's all pretty normal. I guess I would just like to see. So here's retreats. Retreat priorities. All units must retreat together. So I think what they were saying here then is they couldn't, since they had already retreated twice from the combat previously, they have to either all retreat together or they don't retreat at all. And since 2 of those units out of the 3 had already retreated twice, then the entire stack just takes hits instead of retreating. And that's what... If a unit ends its retreat in a hex occupied by a friendly unit, and that friendly unit is subsequently attacked in the same activation, yes, this is our exact situation right here, folks. Yay, we found it. The retreated unit contributes nothing to the defense. Its steps are not counted, and its steps may not be removed to satisfy step losses. If the defending unit retreats or is eliminated by the attack, the retreated unit is eliminated. Ooh. So, okay, so we actually, it was a hybrid of both. Okay, so this defending unit would retreat like we said it would. However, these 2 would be eliminated because they can't retreat with it. So they don't contribute to the attack. So, okay, this attack here had a city. I forgot to remove a hit. So that just means one of these guys would have still been full strength, but they would have retreated twice. And then when this guy retreated, these 2 would have been destroyed. So that is confirming the comment that the north was shattered there, and that would be true. Now, somebody else pointed out that I had green units in one of my resolutions. There's no green units there. So I'm just looking for green units. Well, I guess that's a green unit because it's white. So there was green units here. I guess I ignored a chit that said I had a green unit. I guess whenever it says attackers are green, I assume that if I had non-green attackers, that the chit wouldn't apply to me. But I guess it would be true that if at least one of my attackers was green, then the entire thing is green. So my apologies for missing that. I know that rule. It's just I guess I ignored it because of the situation with the him being combined with other non-green attackers. But that's a silly thing to do. Okay, so I think that catches us up on the rules, and I'm so happy to see this. So now there's actually an advantage to attacking in a specific order when you have multiple attacks going on, because you may be able to get a unit to retreat and then shatter it later. So that's pretty cool. So you may want to do your attacks from east to west, since they always retreat to the west, and then have your westernmost units attack last. Good point. Very good feedback. And yes, I think somebody commented, you really need to stop and read the rules now. And they're right, but here's the thing. I'm just admitting my own weakness here. I could read that rule 100 times, but until this scenario comes up in a game, I'm not going to remember it. And so I probably have read that exact paragraph about units that already retreated 3 or 4 times. And until right now, it didn't click for me. And so I need a player aid that tells me to check for those things. That's what I need. And that's where these player aids are failing me. Now, some of them have information on them, and I'm just not reading them because I'm trying to go too fast. And that part's on me. And so I'm learning that I need to slow it down. But anyways, thank you. And just a rib, especially that person who made that comment. And I know you love the fact that you have to come in and save my day. I mean, if I was getting all the rules right, my videos would be so boring and you'd be watching Watch It Played all day long. You know that. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I keep it lively for you folks. All right. So, and then there was one other thing. I totally screwed up something. So look here in this pile. I mean, we've done a few actions for the Allies, but right here, you can see the 101st Airborne Division card. And somebody pointed out that I had drawn this card, and I was even talking about the 101st Airborne. And I pulled out these 4 airborne units and was commenting about, oh my gosh, I have to deploy all of these. So then what happened was, he called it the Vegas shuffling trick, which is funny because I then said, oh, hold on, wait a minute. And then I did this. I picked this card up and said, no, it's the 17th Airborne Division. And then I was like, well, hold on, where's the 17th? And then I went through and I was like, what am I doing? This is a card that has a 27 on it. Notice where I got it from. It was in this deck. This is the deck of cards that are not yet in the game. So I was going to look at my discard pile because that's where I put the card. Right after I draw it, I put it here. So at that point in time, it looked exactly like this. That was the situation. And so this is the card I meant to pick up, but instead I picked this one up. And so then I was like, well, hold on, there is no 101st. And so I went down this big rabbit hole thinking this was my my card, and it wasn't. So with all things said and done, I don't know what the exact order is, and I don't think it matters, but I completely botched the AI turn. These 4 airborne units should have been deployed, and they weren't. So, yeah, big asterisk on the game. And that was not me misunderstanding the rules, folks. That was just me being a doofus. I don't have a explanation for that other than I just grabbed from the wrong deck. And I keep these face up because I didn't want to confuse, this. But so now I'm going to just turn it sideways. So that way there's no confusion. And I don't know why there was confusion in the first place. And I know things are shaky. My plexiglass is actually warped a little bit. I don't know why, but anyways. Okay, so let's do the Allied action. 13 minutes in. All right, so we got the 8th Corps. So deploy all Corps reserves. There you go. So look at that. The Airborne Division is going to deploy right now. See that? So they're going to deploy anyways. Karma comes and saves the day. So that is the 101st Airborne. We're going to deploy them, and we're going to do deployment method A first, and then B later. Now, the player guide is helpful. I don't want to say that it's not. I think the player aid that comes with the game is just a tad nicer. And it's tad nicer because they actually put like a decision tree on it, which I like. And so let me show it to you again. And then somebody did confirm, I know I got confused in the last video, but the only difference between A and B is that you do A first, and if it doesn't apply, then you go and do method B. That's it. There's no magic to this. So we have 4 units that are being deployed. I'll set them right here. They're the 101st Airborne. And the action card just says deploy all reserves. And we are technically supposed to do them in order. So this is 7, then 8, and then 13, and then 14. I don't think it matters in this particular situation, but maybe in some future one it will. So we'll do that. And yeah, let's do method A. So it says here, it has to be empty, whereas in method B, it doesn't have to be empty. So that's like one of the big differences. It has to be empty. It has to be in the core area. So the 8th core, just to help out, is you can see it here, this little thing. So it's this little squiggly up here, right? So that squiggly going all the way across there, and then it goes all the way to the bottom of the map. So all we have to understand is it's this squiggly and not that one. So there's a lot of room for these guys. And you can see that the 8th core is all the way down here, and then there's an 8th core up here, and then we sort of shattered the one that was there. So there's a lot of them. Okay, so able to trace Allied supply, well, that's most of the places. And then proximity to Germans is important. Then it has to not be in danger of surround, not a German city. Finally, it cannot be next to an Allied unit with a zone of control, unless it's a position of 5 or 6. Then that unit is out of communication, and it would be in communication after placing the reserve, which is a very, it's a situation I can see happening, but it's an obscure one. Okay, so, and then if there's more than one of those, it has to be within 3 hexes of the unit in the same division, or same corps, or same army. Okay, so the division is not going to happen in this one because all the 101st has not been deployed yet. After we deploy the first one, then the other ones would be near the first one. Does that make sense? And so the hex with the highest HV is only taken into consideration if there's more than one place that qualifies. So we have to look within 3 hexes of a unit in the same division. I think that's our top priority. Well, no, not division, corps, because there is no division, not yet. And then after we place our first one, then the division's going to kick in. So if you look here, there's 3 of them. There's this guy, and this guy. So within proximity of a German, this one, because of zone of control that these 2 are placing, this guy can't go any further than 1 space. So this space here is not in proximity. I'm pretty darn sure, but that's how you interpret that. Same with this space here, and same with this one. This one is within proximity of them, but it's next to another, so we can't use this one. But 1, 2, 3, that one is a candidate, and so is that one. This is also a candidate. In fact, this might be a great candidate because this one would implement some gap control. That would actually close a gap. So I'm feeling that right here is where he would go. These 2 are too far back. If we come over to here, there's another great candidate with this one. Actually, that one would be a fantastic candidate because it would help close the gap there, but this guy is already sort of doing that as well. So you can see here we have 2 good candidates. So then if you have more than one, then we're supposed to go to the hex with the highest HV. Well, they're both 3, so the hold value doesn't help. Then it says the westernmost one, and the westernmost one would be this one. Now, I think I would mentally argue that this is the better of the 2 because look at all the gaps that are open here, whereas this one, I think I have one single gap that I'd be closing, right? Because I'm sort of sneaking right between everything here, whereas here I got 1 gap, 2 gaps, 3 gaps, right? And if I put a unit here, I literally cut off all 3 of the gaps. So the rules don't tell me to do gap control. It says to do the westernmost hex. Now it does say that I do remember reading that method A, method A was meant to be gap control, and method B was supposed to be like mounting an attack. I mean, that's sort of the idea between the two methodologies. But according to the rules, this one would win because it's westernmost, even though I think that's the better of the two options. Let me make sure. I think if I were playing, I would put him here. If I were playing as the AI. So this AI has been pretty good so far. So this seems like a glitchy one, but it boils down to, do I have the keyword, preserve the line? That's what I meant to say. Preserve the line is a keyword that you use when you're placing units. So I'm just looking real quick. Method A tends to place reserves to extend Allied lines and contain German breakthroughs. Method B is reinforcing existing Allied lines to build counterattack forces. It does not say preserve the line, like other action cards would. It just says deploy. So we'll take the first one, and I will put it here, because that's westernmost to that one. And it's within 3 spaces of a core unit, which that's what it satisfies. Now, here's what changes in the game. This says within 3 spaces of the same division. So what that means is these two are out. It has to be within 3 spaces of this guy, is from here on out, is what I need to do. Unless I'm doing deployment method B, because deployment method B, yeah, deployment method B does not always ask you to go there. So now we got to do the same thing, but now with this guy. And so what's within German proximity? Well, here, and here, but they're all next to Allied units, so we can't place those. So this one is in danger of surround, so you can't go there. I don't think it's in Allied supply anyways. And I mean, obviously this one, like I said, is a fantastic candidate, but it's too far away. Now we could go here, but there's no German proximity, because now that this guy's here, there's no Germans making it back. So the answer is there's no more method A deployment. There is not even a single position, let alone more than one, that satisfies method A. So now we go to method B. Place unit in hex occupied by unit in the same division that's in communication and supply within stacking limits. So then we would do, so it's basically, that's 2, 4, 6. So I'm placing 3 of them, like so. Now there's no such position on the 4th one. So now I have to place it in a spot that's empty, in the unit's core area, able to trace Allied supply, and within 3 hexes of a unit in the same army, and within 4 hexes of a German unit, regardless of zone of control, terrain, and so on. Then check not in danger of surround, not in German-held city or town. So this one's a little different. Within 3 hexes of unit in the same army, that is not same division anymore. Although the tiebreaker, if you have more than one, is going to look at the same division. It's crazy. It does not care that it's a hold value position. Well, let me look at this. Nope, it does care. It needs to be a hold value position. Within 3 hexes of the same army, within 4 hexes of a German unit. So you're no longer looking at zone of controls. So that means, and it doesn't care about being next to an ally. So that does open the door for me to do something like this. So he would go there. Because method B doesn't care that he's next to other allied units. He is within 3 of the division. It's the highest hold value position out of all the other ones that are around. I mean, this one would work as well. They're the same hold value, so then it's like, well, then you're taking the westernmost. Crap, I think it would be this one. Yeah, it's going to be this one. Now, what's interesting is if I had more units to deploy, I would then go here and eventually there, using this methodology. And in fact, deployment method A would work again now by going here, because we're within, well, actually this one can't get across the river. So that would still be too far. But the point is that I think that's where it would go. This one is not a bad spot either. These ones being ruled out, this one's in danger of being surrounded. This one is just a 2 versus a 3, and that's the only reason why it loses. And then this one's losing to this one because this one's further to the west. And now what's interesting is after westernmost hex is checked, if there's still more than one position, then it turns into who's closest to a German, which is funny because that would put it back over to here. So that's a great exercise. Good luck. I hope I did it mostly correct. If not, let me know. I think this is something where I would not cry if this was wrong. I think even if this was wrong, I still did a decent job of making this harder on me, because I had just made a breakthrough here, and now all of a sudden I'm surrounded by their strongest forces. That's actually a very interesting concept. So it's going to be quite the slog to get to the western edge. I still have some nice gaps over here, but I have a river and all kinds of stuff blocking me. So by the time I get there, it might be a problem. So anyways, that ends the Allied impulse. So now it's back to us. And I never got the 5th Army card. So that means it never made it into our draw pile. And that's the one I was really looking for. I have the 6th Army and I have the 7th Army. And that's it. I don't have anything else. So I'm thinking of activating the 6th Army because that'll let me get rid of the disruption on all my units up north. Can I do a camp group? No. Well, I can, but I don't know how helpful that would be. So I'm going to just activate the 1st SS Panzer Corps. This one's a nice one, but it's just a division within the Corps, and I don't want to necessarily do just one division. So I'm going to do this 6th Army, which is 4 points, and I need to check our calendar. Allied command level's 4. So this would be our entire impulse. So I'm going to activate 1 6th PA Panzer Army Corps. And it's going to be the yellow ISS Corps. And it's going to use up all 4. And the entire Corps is disrupted. So I'm going to be removing disruption on them. And that's going to be my entire turn. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are disrupted. Now, I just forgot to take the camp group thing away, but I was tempted to do it because within 2 spaces we got almost everybody except for him. This is 3 spaces away, so that would hurt us. And then also, I lied, there is 1 unit that was not dispersed. It was this one. So we could do something, and I'm tempted to say, can I attack this? This is an elite unit with a position marker. So he would be quite the challenge. So I'm going to do reinforced battle. That's my first card. And bring these guys up to join the battle. I was tempted to do these ones, but I'm going to get those ones up. All right, so that's my first card. And then my second card is going to be infantry infiltration. So we're going to be, you know what? I don't need to do infantry infiltration, so I'll keep that. And the reason I'm saying that is I'm going to do any tactic here. And I'm going to get this one to join, whatever that's called. I can't remember. It's not infantry infiltration. It is assault coordination. So this one's going to join. So I'm going to get a flank from all three of these. So you can see here it's a 2-chit minimum. And then this is 1, skip the bracket, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And this one is 3 or more pips. So that's going to be 6 chits. And then I'm using 2 tactics. So that's going to be 7 and 8. I have 8 total chits I can do. I'm drawing 2 minimum. And he has a strength of 3, and we have 3, 4, 7, 10, 15, 18. So we're at 6-1 over him. He is in an improved position. And before I forget, somebody told me to write it down. He's getting reinforced battle, which is an interesting one. What does that do for him? Let's find out. Reinforced battle. Select one of active or inactive stack that did not move or attack in the current activation that could reach the combat in a single movement action to participate in the combat. If defending, the unit stack moves into the hex with the defending units. Okay. For allies, select the unit stack with the lowest numbered unit. If more than one, preserving line and protecting VP hexes take priority over reinforcing. If there's more than one. So this is a very interesting combat tactic for them to draw. This, by the way, is not out there. So this guy can clearly, he can move 6 spaces. So he can spend in the woods, that's a 3 plus 1 because he was in a zone of control. That'd be 4. And then just, I'm sorry, it's a road. So this would just be 2. 1 for the road, 1 because he's in zone of control. So 2, 3, and then to move off the road into the woods is 3 more for 6. So he could do it, but he has a VP priority. So I think this guy is the one that would do it, but for him to move from here to here is, actually that's only 1 movement if you're not in armor, which he's not. So that's 1, that's 2, and then we're talking about a forest here. So I'm checking, that's 2 more. So he cannot move there. That would require 4 movement points to get here. So he can't do it. So absent of more than 1 person to get there, hold on. Yeah, okay, I just double checked. This guy could have moved here and then be adjacent to them for the battle, but the rules are very specific. You have to move to this hex. This one is the only one that can do it, so he is going to give up the VP points. Now, the rules say that that's not what he wants to do, but only in the situation where I have more than 1 choice. I don't have more than 1 choice. That's the only way to reinforce this guy. So I've already won, as far as I'm concerned, because I just kicked somebody out of a VP city. And that city was going to absorb a hit if I ever tried to attack him there. And this is a glorious day for the Germans. Okay, so that does change the odds of winning. I'm no longer 6-1, and I think I said I was at 8 chits. Now it's a 4 chit minimum, and he has 6 points. So 18-6, we're at 3-1 now, which is not quite as good. In fact, that's a huge step down from 6-1. But it is 4 chips minimum now out of 8. So let's give it a try. He also has armor now, which hurts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, that one's out. Okay, is there a defender adjacent? No, there is not. Are they dispersed or unsupplied? Good question. Well, I would tell you they're unsupplied now. That's a good question. Is this at the time or was it at the beginning of the turn? Because at the beginning of the turn they were supplied. So that's why they don't have an unsupplied marker. But they're unsupplied now. What a fantastic question that is. This is just a timing question. Do I check to see if they're supplied right at this moment? And I know I was supposed to read the rules and know this. Okay, so it just says it applies if all units are dispersed, in low supply, out of supply, isolated, or out of fuel, which they aren't because I don't have a marker on them. So I'm going to rule that I don't have to check. I'm looking in the rule book real quick, but I'm thinking this is not something I have to do. Because it doesn't say as part of the combat sequence that I need to check for supply. That was done during the supply phase before these impulses started. So I'm going to assume that they got their supplies and maybe they're cut off now. So starting next turn, they'll get the low supply marker. But as of right now, they're fully supplied. And I hope to everything that's holy that that's how this plays. Because this is this would actually be really annoying that I have to check supply over and over again. Although it would work to my advantage right now. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere, so I'm going to go with it. So I'm going to say that he's not dispersed or unsupplied, and he doesn't have anybody adjacent. So that one's out. Are we less than 1-1? Nope. Are we greater than 1.5-1? Yes, we are. Is he in a city? No, he's not. Is he in town, forest, or woods? He is. Does he have artillery? Nope. Do we have artillery? No, we don't either. So we're going to take a hit, and he takes nothing. I can't believe... No, that was only 4 chits. Okay, now we're going to go to 8. Because this is bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Greater than 3-1. Yes, there is. Greater than 5-1. This would have helped us immensely. But because of that reinforcement, we have to do this instead. So that stinks. Greater than 8-1. Nope, we never had that. Less than 3. Nope, out. Is the defender green? Looking. No, they're elite, in fact. So they are elite. Oh my gosh, we got 2 of them. Jeez Louise. So they're going to subtract 3 of their hits, and they take no hits at all, and we take 3. Oh my gosh. What an awful battle that turned out to be. Okay. Well, we take 3. So I will go 1. And then do 2 and 3. Wow. That just blows. Okay, it's Allied Impulse turn. All right, 18th Airborne Corps. Ooh, this is not good. Deploy all Corps reserves. Oh my gosh. We're getting hammered in this game. This is the 18th Corps reserves. It is a buttload of guys. And right here where you see 18S, see that little S on there? I can't remember what the S stands for. I think it's strategic. That means they go first. So these S's are top of the priority list. And then these non-S ones are bottom. I guess there's running a risk that they're not all going to be able to deploy, right? Because there's no room. Well, these guys are going to be top of the list, priority. So they are deploying first no matter what, and then these guys come second. Now, where is the 18th? They're here in the one other area that I was beating the crap out of them. And now I'm not. So, we're going to do deployment method A. And there's one that jumps out as a clear winner here. By the way, the 18th Corps is the northern end of the map, all the way down to this squiggly line down here. So it's a big range. But there's one spot that jumps out, and it's this one. It's within proximity of the German unit here, and actually possibly even these ones. And it's within 3 spaces of these. There's nobody else from his division, so it would be his corps, would be the match. And I'm going to lift up the camera here so I can look at my player aid for this. Okay, so yeah, that's where it would go. I don't even think there's another spot that jumps out as much as that one. So now we go to a second spot that has to be within 3 spaces of him. Or ideally, that's where it should be. And here's what's crazy. We can trace supply and communication all the way up to the river here. Because even though the Germans made it across and beat everybody back, so this one would go here unless he's in risk of being surrounded. And to be quite honest with you, he's not. These units could come down. I guess this one's doing zone of control here. And then somebody said to me that being surrounded does not mean that he has physically 6 units around him. It means that zone of control can be placed all around him. This is at risk of being surrounded, so I don't think that one's going to work. So we're already done with method A. There's nowhere else that qualifies for placement. So then we have to go to method B. So method B just means start stacking. So there we go. There's 3 units there. Then the next one is empty position in the core area, can have allied supply within 3 hexes of the same army, within 4 of a German unit, and don't factor in zone of control. It has to not be in danger of surround, and if there's more than one position, then you go within the same division. So within 3 hexes, can't be surrounded. I do run the risk of these guys coming down. In fact, this has the risk of being surrounded. If this guy can go 1, 2, 3, and this one can go 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can have zone of control, and then this guy can go here. You know what? This spot is at risk of being surrounded, so that spot doesn't work. That spot right there is at risk of being surrounded. So, going back to the drawing board, there is no position that qualifies for method A. So now we got to do method B, and there's plenty of positions that qualify for that. So the first one, of course, is this one right here. So 3 units would go there, and I still have another unit to place. So then I would go there, and then there and there, and I still have one more. So can't go below which squiggly line? I can actually go all the way down to this squiggly line down here. So I would go here. Although that's only a 2. Is there anywhere else that's higher than a 2? This one's at risk of being surrounded. I can't go there. Oh, you know what? He would go where there's another unit. So this is a 5-spotter, so he's going to go reinforce the 5-spotter, like so. They reinforce their own division first. So that's the reason why I stacked them high and deep on their own division. So yeah, lots of units all of a sudden. The Germans were crazy doing this attack. Okay, so I think that was 2 Allied impulses of lots of decision-making and choices there. Hopefully that one did well. And now we'll move to our turn. We have one and only one card. It is the, what is that, L5? That's the 58th Panzer Corps. The 58th Panzer Corps are these guys right here, and they are eligible. And so we're going to activate all the units. We have no other cards to help us or anything like that. There's nothing. So we're in a spot now where we were busting through and now we're surrounded. And in fact, we're surrounded badly. We have these units back here, which are great, but they're piled high and deep. They are dispersed, which would help us. We have a mega stack over here, which I'm not excited about attacking because I would need a very strong army to get good odds against them. And so I'm tempted to try to take out these guys. But what's the best method to do that? This is 4 with a movement of 3, but that's not bad because this is just a 1 and a broken area is a 1 and a 2 for the, so I can go like this. So we can start cutting off their zones of communication, right? And then this one can just go right along the road, 1, 2, 3. Now we're sort of giving up ground here, but I don't see a better option. Now by moving here, I did move next to this 2, but that 2 is next to units, so we're not going to do a roadblock check. And like this one to here, the broken is 2 movement points. This is 3 because it's along the road, and that's a woods for 3 more. That would be 6. I was sort of hoping to take this guy out. But what I'm going to do instead is just pile him on there. Sure. And so there we go. We're going to attack this stack, and it's dispersed. So with it being dispersed, there are some rules that affect us. I'm looking for them. They do not exert control. They may not move, attack, advance, or build an IP. If all defending units in the stack are dispersed, attacker suffers 1 less hit. No combat tactic may be played for the unit. May only retreat 1 hex. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is I thought I read somewhere that if they are dispersed, if 1 unit in the stack is dispersed, the entire stack is considered dispersed. And I thought I read that somewhere, but it's been a while. So I'm just going to attack. A unit may attack once in an activation. A unit may only be attacked once. Yeah, okay. You may not attack if you're dispersed, but we get that. If you're a unit in a hex with an IP and you participate as an attacker, you lose your IP. I didn't know that. That's a good one to know. Yeah, I've been doing some attacks wrong. I keep forgetting to check to see if the allied card matches the core. So this was the 12th core, for example. That did not match, so nothing would have happened in that last battle. But I got to remember to check for those things. So it keeps saying if the unit is dispersed, but in this case, one unit is dispersed, but the other unit is not, and they're in the same hex. So I think the entire hex is considered to be dispersed. That's what I'm trying to confirm here. And of course the rules keep using unit strangely because I'm not attacking a unit, I'm attacking a hex. And I wish it would be a little more clear in that regard. So these are the areas where it is very frustrating, and I'll stop whining, I promise. Okay, so I'm looking for okay, so a dispersed unit and any unit stacked with it may retreat only one hex if attacked. Okay, so all it's saying is that that entire stack is only allowed to retreat one space because it's dispersed. But it is saying that all the units must be dispersed in order for the attacker to be able to, block a hit. And they still get a combat tactic card because it has to be all the defenders are dispersed. So it does answer it, just very strangely. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is the player guide for how to resolve combat. And it says here, draw an allied command card. If the allied unit is supplied, exception the 16th first impulse. That's not true. Draw an allied command card if whole stack not dispersed. That's the key rule missing from this reference guide. Okay, so we do have a pickle. He does get to draw a card. So we're going to draw one for him. And it's the First Army Hodges. I think this does match him. So if the card's formation matches that of the defending units, if it's a division card, that of the unit's division, a core card, that of the unit's core, if an army card, that of the unit's army. So see how this is dark green? These guys are dark green. So I think it matches the army. So we're screwed. Okay, and so the defending units are in U.S. communication. They are. They're not in danger of surround. They are in danger of surround. If they possess, they're in danger of surround big time. Right here. Well, you don't get to see. So they have U.S. communication because they're able to go through here and then get out. They are in danger of surround because I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would have them surrounded. So this cheat sheet is saying that since they're in danger of surround, I would not draw an undetected allied defender unit. So it says all of these have to apply, and they are in danger of surround. So that does not apply, or that causes this to not apply. And then what it would be is it'd be a reserve unit and then an out of contact unit, which is interesting because there is no reserve unit, just a whole bunch of them already deployed. So this may actually be a wasted discussion anyways. And they would go in the defending hex. So I don't think we'd do anything because there's nobody in the reserves from that army or that corps. They just deployed last turn. So let's just do, so if none of these are displayed and it lists combat tactic and the unit is not dispersed, apply the tactic. So that's the part that gets weird because like I said, one of the units is dispersed, one is not. So I don't think we do a undetected defender. So instead we're going to do the combat tactic, which you can see is artillery and air power. So fair enough. They get artillery and air power, and let's figure this out. So we have 4 pips for them. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for us. We have an elite unit, makes it 6, and I don't think we have, nope. Elite unit makes it 6. So we have to draw 4, we have a max of 6, and they have green units and a dispersed unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're gonna get clobbered again. Okay, first thing, are they in a clear? No, they're not. Looks like they're in broken. Woods, forest, and city. They are in a town. They're not in a city. So, and it's broken. So this does not apply. Out. Another clear, woods, forest, or city. Out. German air power, allied power, G2. In. Attacker is elite. Yes, they are. So we did that. And that was 4, and I'm going to go for the 6. Yes, 6. IP Crossfire. I got to look that one up. It's actually right here. The defender occupies an IP. The answer is no, they do not occupy an IP. Are they dispersed and unsupplied? No. Well, actually, yes, they are. They are. So, bing-a-bing. Only the attacker has armor. That is true. So, there we go. So, what does G2 mean? I've never seen G2 before. So, that's an interesting thing. Does that mean German takes 2 hits? So it doesn't matter if it's attacker or defender, the German takes 2 hits. I would say that that's what G2 means. So let's say the German had the air power. What does that say? Yeah, the US would take a hit, see? US 1. So that's saying German takes 2 hits, I think. Okay, that wasn't nice. All right, I'm going to go with that. German takes 2 hits. Okay, so this will cancel one of them because we get a cancellation. But we are going to take 1 hit, and then they're going to take 1, 2, 3 hits themselves. Now, they are in a city, and if I take this page away, we go to the next page to resolve this. I even wrote down, look at this. I put a little super slobber there. I underlined it. And then I even said, remember the Titans. So I forget all the time to take one away for the city. So here you go, gone, because they're in a city. Okay, so now we have 3 hits left for them to deal with. Okay, so we got 1 hit for ourselves. So I'm going to look and see which unit of ours we're going to hit. Not good. It's going to be an infantry. Yeah, we're going to hit an infantry unit just because I don't want to hit my armor. Keeping the tanks precious. Okay, so now with this said, we have 3 hits to, well, this is gone. We have 2 hits to apply to them, but they have 4 pips. So this one does not matter. A, B does not matter because we have less than their pips. C, if losing a step would cause the units to exert no zone of control, it would not because there's 2 units there. Although the dispersed unit has no zone of control right now. So actually it would, because we would hit the one that's not dispersed yet. So what they would do is they would retreat 1 hex. So looking at the situation, the only place they can go is there. Okay, so they do their retreat 1 hex. And then we have 1 final hit to apply, and they're taking damage because they can't retreat anymore. So this is not even an option, rolling for hold or anything. So they're just taking a hit. So this top unit here, we would flip. And then the other guy is still dispersed. So then I will go ahead and take it with this unit right here. Well, do I want to do that? Because then I'm going to zoom out for you here. I'm worried about if I move this unit in, that I'm leaving a huge space here for the allies to start reinforcing. So I'm just going to move this guy back in like that. Okay, so with that said, we just scored 2 victory points. So we're going to go up to, on the victory point track, we're up to 3 now. Because we just took a victory point hex, worth 2 in fact. And I think that resolves the battle. So now they get to go. And it's the 1st Infantry Division, 9th Infantry Division, or 5th Armored on the 5th Corps. Okay, this group has been pretty active. So there's nobody to deploy. So they're going to activate the 1, 9, and 5A divisions. Okay, so there are these guys up north here. So there's 9, there's 1. There's 1, and there is no 5A that I can see. Looking in the dead pile, there's no, oh, it'd be 5th Armor is what 5A is. So, do they just not have any armor out right now? I guess not. This is the 102 Cavalry. That's not the 5th Armor. So, I think that's it. I don't think they get armor yet until later. Interesting. So it says 1, 9, and 5A. So here's an interesting question. What does this 3, 3, and 2 by my thumb mean? Does that mean that there's 3 units, and then 2 armored units? Is that what that means? If so, that's pretty cool. I actually like that. That's a nice touch. What I see is just 2 1st Division units and 1 9th Division unit and nothing else. Everything else must still be in the reinforcements pool. Here's a 1st Division unit that's coming out tomorrow, the next turn or the next day, and then there's a 9th Division unit also waiting to come out the next day. So those two don't come out until later, and then God only knows where the armor is because I don't see it anywhere here. This must come out much, much later, and I'm just looking. Oh yeah, there they are, the 24th. They come out December 24th. Okay, so they're all activating. We're gonna draw 3 cards. So let's see what they're gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna put them in their order. And the first thing they wanna do is fill the gap. So they're gonna unit proximate to empty position, to which a German unit is also proximate, and they wanna go where their highest HV. Move to a position, preserve the line, avoid surround, protect VP. Okay, so we have a 4 here that I think they desperately want to deal with. There's a 4 here as well. And the forest requires 2 movement points. So this is only 1 movement point, that's 2. But he's going into a 4 VP spot next to the Germans. So he is holding the line and moving in. This one would not do anything, so he might do a different action. And then this guy is the only other one that can activate, and so he would spend 2 movement points to go here and then 1 to go there. So he moved to a 4-point spot instead of a 2-point spot. If anything, if it was these guys activating up here, they would for sure go into that victory point spot, but they can't do that. So I think that activated 2 of them. And then my next one is pull back. So this is unit stack is in a hex less than 5, hold value, able to move, and out of communication or in danger of surround. Well, the only one left to activate is this guy. He's in a spot that has 5, so this does not apply to him. And then the last action is also pull back. So nothing happens to him. He would build an improvement, but he's in a city or a town, so he doesn't do that. So there you go, that's the end of the allied turn. So that concludes, by the way, I'm out of cards. That includes December 18th. So I said that I was gonna start over. I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna keep playing. I still feel there's a lot about these rules I need to get comfortable with. And I apologize because I am leaning on some of you guys to help me. And I shouldn't. I'm the one that's supposed to know this stuff before I do the video. And I am struggling, and I thank you for getting me into it. This is probably the most complex war game I think I own. I'm trying to think, like D-Day Iwo Jima was complex, but I think the only reason why it turned out to not be as complex is because I played all those other D-Day games before it. But I screwed those up too when I started. It's just, this one's different. Anyways, I'm not going to ramble. Thank you so much for everything and for staying in there and hanging in there. And I will definitely, I'm already thinking about how would I play this different if we start over. But this is definitely eye-opening how quickly these reinforcements show up. This is going to be a slogfest. I am not going to push through and just march all the way to the west side. Not by any stretch. So anyways, thank you for watching. Stay awesome. I have to make it until December 20th before I can even start reinforcing and replacing my units. That's a tall order. Thank you.